Welcome back, guys. We are going to move into multi-step inequalities. And so I have 5 example questions to show you as we go through. Please remember that you had 3 steps as a checklist of how you can solve multi-step equations. The only thing that we're going to add on is you flip your sign when you multiply or divide by a negative. So I made that our 4th check mark box, just in case you need it as a reference. Okay, so first things first, when you look at an inequality, you must decide, can I distribute? So if I see parentheses, I am allowed to distribute inside. So 5 times 1 is 5, and 5 times negative 1x is negative 5x. And bring down everything else from the original question. I don't see any like terms on the left side, and I don't see any like terms on the right side, so I cannot CLT, but I can undo my operations. So I notice that I have a 5x and 5x. Both of them are subtraction. So to move one to the other, I would have to not subtract, but add to both sides my 5x. And when we do so, spaghettios, we don't have any x's left. Right now, all you have is 5 is greater than or equal to negative 2. So I'm going to ask you this question. Is 5 bigger than or greater than negative 2? And the answer is, yeah, it is bigger than negative 2. So therefore, if it's true, or if it is bigger than or equal to, then we put all real solutions, or we called that infinite solutions. So when did this happen? Well, the only time an all real solution or infinite solutions can happen is when your variable or your x completely goes away and we're left with a statement that is true. So 5 is bigger than or equal to negative 2. That's truthful. Hence why we have all real numbers, or all real solutions can be my answer. All right, number 2. If I want to solve for r, the first thing I notice is I don't have any parentheses, so I cannot distribute. But I do see that I have a 6r plus another 6r that are sitting on the same side of my inequality symbol. So if they are on the same side, that means we can combine like terms. So 6 rabbits, and I'm adding in 6 more rabbits. Altogether, we've got 12 rabbits. On the left side, minus 1 is strictly less than 11. All right, guys, we're solving for r. So let's get 12r by itself. So let's not subtract by 1, but add by 1. And we'll end up with 12. We have our less than symbol, and we still have our 12r from combining like terms. Now to finish solving for r, we need to undo that 12 that sits directly in front of me. So instead of multiply, we divide. And I should have done that in blue, so that's what I'm going to do. And 12 divided by 12, guys, is 1. So now it's time to sketch me your graph. Since our symbol is strictly less than, that means that we are an open dot at positive 1. Oops, there we go. And it is pointing to the left. All right, let's take a look at number 3 and 4. Number 3, automatically my eyes are drawn to my parentheses. So let's distribute. So we get negative 4v minus 32. Now we see on the right side, I see an 8v minus 4v that I can combine like terms with. which ends up giving us 4v. Drop down everything else. Now let's get 4v by itself so we can get v completely alone. So instead of subtracting 32, we will add 32. You got it. To get our v completely alone, we need to undo the 4 directly in front, which means we will divide by positive 4, which ends up giving us v is less than or equal to, we've got 10. But we don't like that now, do we, guys? Because this is not in the right order. So we need to make sure we pay attention and we take this and our v goes on the left side and our 10 goes on the right, which means that our symbol should be facing that way so that we graph it properly. Now draw your... Because our v is on the left side and we are greater than or equal to, this means that we are closed as a dot on 10. And since our v is on the left side, our sign is pointing the way that we are going to draw our arrow. So to the right. Number 4, I see parentheses, so we should start by distributing. And once you drop down everything else, we notice we have a negative 1p minus 3p's on the right side. So negative 1 minus 3 will end up giving us negative 4p's on the right side and drop down everything else. To undo subtracting by 4p, we are going to add 4p's on both sides of our inequality, which ends up wiping out the p's altogether, giving us 19 is greater than 24. Now, guys, is 19 bigger than 24? No way, right? So if that's not a truthful statement, that means this is no solution. That doesn't make sense. Notice our p's were completely gone, and we were left with a statement that was not true. 19 is not bigger than 24. Now our final example is number 5. Notice we have parentheses on both sides of our symbol, which means we need to distribute not once, but twice. Let's get to it. So we end up with negative 20x plus 10 is greater than negative 6 minus 12x. All right. So if I want to move my subtract by 12x, I need to add by 12x, only to my piece that looks like me on the other side. So negative 20 plus 12 is going to leave me at negative 8x plus 10 is greater than negative 6. Now remember, we're trying to solve for x. So we need to get negative 8x by himself on the left. So to do that, we need to not add by 10, but subtract by 10 on both sides of our symbol. So we should get negative 8x is greater than negative 6 minus 10 is negative 16. And don't forget, guys, we need to get rid of that negative 8 in front. So instead of multiply, we divide. Now be careful. We just divided by a negative. So when you divide by a negative, we must flip our sign. So we're going to flip our sign around because we divided by negative 8. That was why we did that. And a negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 16 divided by 8 is 2. So let's graph our inequality. So since our x is less than 2, that means that we are an open dot at 2. And since our x is on the left side, we can be confident in the way that I am pointing. Now it's time to practice, guys, on your Google Slides. Yeah.